And we're finally there. This is our lab, our OSPF single area lab, single area 0. We have R1, R2, R3, and R4 running. OSPF, PC1 and PC2 are ready to ping, are able to ping to each other. So we're not going through all the configuration. I'm pretty sure you know how to do that. We're going to discuss here in the capture some of the details we saw in the database descriptor packets, right, that they exchange on that xstart state, right, from the neighborship state machine. So if you guys see here, after all the hello packets have been sent, then we start seeing this first database descriptor description packet, right, section here, and we saw that the first comes from R2 in this section, and we interestingly see that the 3 bits, right, that we saw in initialize bit, more bit, and master bit are all set to 1, right? And we have here the database sequence number 1450. The next database description packet that we see is from R1 in this case, and also interestingly, it has all the 3 bits set to 1 and a different database description sequence because it's its own sequence. So what does it mean that that at the beginning both routers R1 and R2 they both want to become the master, right? They're all saying I'm gonna be the master, but who's gonna win? The one that has the best router ID. In this case, router 2 has router ID 2.2.2.2, which is bigger than router 1, which has router ID 1.1.1.1. So that basically means that R2 is going to be the master, R1 is going to be the slave. How the routers acknowledge that, if you see on the third DB description packet, R1 is basically saying, okay, I've seen you. I'm no longer sending my master bit to 1. I'm just sending them. I'm just setting here the master bit on more. The initialize process has finished, so I'm no longer negotiating who's going to be the slave or the master, and I'm using R2 sequence number, which is 1450. That basically means R2 has acknowledged he is a slave, and now as we have the more bit set to 1, that means I'm going to send information. I have more information on my database to send to R1, and that's what it's doing, right? It's sending, in this case, an LSA type 1 to R2, so R2 knows what pieces of information will require. The next database description packet now comes from R2, right? If you see here, router D2. In this case, if you see here, router 2 knows he's a master, so he has a master bit set to 1. And in this case, it's also sending this LSA type 1 information from its database to R1, saying basically, okay, I no longer have more information, just that. So I'm acknowledging yours, and all this negotiation process has finished. Now both routers have information of what they will need, because at this point the database description, remember that it's just that, it's just saying what pieces of information I have, but not the actual link state advertisement, right, that I will have to request later. That's why we see here in this case that R1 is actually requesting information from that LSA. So he knows from the master slave negotiation and the database descriptor exchanges that he will need information, that LSA type 1 information that R2 informed it had, but now he has to request it to have the full link state advertisement to get all that information from that LSA type 1. So that's why R1 requested that information, and R2 sends the update with information of the LSA type 1 information, the full information for that. If there are more information or either received from other routers or from router 2 itself that comes later, it will send updates. So you will see here the updates. And as we saw, the OSPF has its own acknowledgements. So it's going to acknowledge information from all the updates received. So that's basically it, guys. So that's how it looks like, that negotiation part, and that those first exchanges of information, and that process that could be difficult at first to understand, of who becomes the master, who becomes the slave. And who knows, maybe in the future that we will see that they are no more longer master and slave, but leader and follower, as per the new RFC. Okay, guys, and we're done. I hope this video has been informative for you. Feel free to reach out and on the comments and leave any feedback. I'll be happy to read them, and hopefully answer your questions if you have any. So thanks again, and see you later.